The surveillance state has been unmasked, and what we're learning should terrify every American citizen. Right now, unelected bureaucrats are using advanced monitoring tools to spy on you, not terrorists, not criminals, but law-abiding patriots who simply question the narrative. House Judiciary Chairman Andy Biggs dropping a bombshell today, confirming that law enforcement agencies could potentially use this technology to surveil individuals who are not engaged in any illegal activity whatsoever. Meanwhile, Jim Jordan has exposed the FBI for violating their own internal protocols under the Biden administration. These aren't conspiracy theories anymore. They are congressional findings. And while they're watching you, the Supreme Court just gave President Trump the green light to use the Alien Enemies Act to deport foreign terrorists. The contrast could not be more stark. And while the surveillance state monitors your every move, your body has its own internal monitoring system, pain signals that fire when inflammation strikes. Just as Trump is using the Alien Enemies Act to target real threats, not innocent Americans, you need to target the root cause of your pain, not just mask the symptoms. Dr. Josh has discovered a turmeric extract 200 times more powerful than standard turmeric, like comparing Trump's targeted deportations to Biden's open border. This formula turns off pain signals at their source, just as Trump's policies are shutting down foreign terrorist networks. Experience the relief at goldenrevive.com/NNN and bypass the big pharma surveillance state controlling your health. It's linked below. Let's jump into it. Jim Jordan, one of my favorite members of Congress, calls out the Federal Bureau of Investigation for breaking their own rules under the Biden administration. Listen to this.
Chairman of the full committee, Mr. Jordan, for his
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act allows government to conduct surveillance of foreigners, as the title would suggest, outside of the United States for intelligence information. Okay, that's all well and good. We like that. They get that information, they bring in this giant database, this what I call the haystack of information, and then they do queries, which is a fancy word for search. And they search Americans, American phone numbers, names, email addresses. They search America. They call it queries, but a query is a fancy name. Query is a fancy name for search. 3 million times they did it in 2021. And here's the kicker. The FBI, when they did all these searches, didn't even follow their own rules. You don't have to take our word for it. The Inspector General said 278,000 times the FBI didn't even follow their rules for conducting these searches on Americans, not foreigners. So the ranking member's right. We got 12 months from now when we get a chance to go at this issue again. We were close last time. We lost the warrant requirement in a vote, 212 to 212. I'm going to do everything, and I know the chairman is, and I appreciate the ranking member's comments. We're going to do everything we can to make sure we have that warrant requirement. Here's the way it works in our country. If you're an American citizen and the government wants to go look at your stuff, they got to go to a separate and equal branch of government and get a warrant. It's pretty simple. That's what we want. Plain and simple. And we were one vote away from passing it in the House. Who knows what would have happened in the Senate. But I know I'm committed. I know the chairman of the subcommittee is committed, and the ranking member, I appreciate what he's done over the years in defending the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and we look forward to working with him on this issue. We need to do this to protect American citizens.
Chairman of the full committee.
Now, that just happened a few hours ago. Here we have more from Representative Jim Jordan. I believe these are similar remarks.
Allows government to conduct surveillance. Section 702 of the FBI didn't even follow their rules for, and the government wants to go look at your stuff, defending the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and we look forward to working with him on this issue. We need to do this to protect American citizens and stick with, as the ranking member said, the way it's always worked. You want to look at someone's stuff? Go get a warrant. Go to a separate branch of government, get a warrant. That's how probable cause. And here's the other thing. We even put exceptions in there. Exigent circumstances, something really bad's going to happen, or you give permission because there's some cyber attack on you or your company. We put exceptions in there. We'll put them back in again. Sometimes I thought we put too many exceptions. We'll do it again, but we got to win. We got to win this issue 12 months from now, April, I forget the date in April, but it's April next year, and we got to make sure we win this. And I appreciate the chairman bringing our witnesses here. Thank you for coming and having this hearing on this very important, fundamental issue for the American people. I yield back. In section.
Now we have the House Judiciary GOP, posting this 10 hours ago, law enforcement agencies could potentially use this technology to surveil individuals who are not engaged in any illegal activity whatsoever. Here is Representative Andy Biggs highlighting the dangers of mass government surveillance.
Who is subject to us. The Fourth Amendment guarantees all Americans the right to be free of unreasonable government searches and seizures. With advances in technology, Americans' personal data has become easily tracked and collected. And the government can and does obtain this information without acquiring a warrant and without ever notifying an individual who is subject to a search. This is especially prevalent in the context of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Reports in recent years detail how the FBI, under the leadership of past FBI directors, abused its authorities under FISA. The FBI used its authorities under Section 702 of FISA to conduct millions of queries of U.S. person communications. At its peak, the FBI conducted nearly 3 million such searches in 2021. In recent years, those numbers have begun to decline, but the FBI still conducts thousands of U.S. person queries every month. These actions violate the privacy and civil liberties of Americans and likely infringe on their Fourth Amendment protections. I've called for serious reforms to FISA for years, and last Congress we undertook the task of attempting to rein in years of FISA abuses. Congress enacted a bill that included various reforms, such as new and heightened criminal and civil penalties for those who violate FISA. We significantly reduced the number of FBI personnel authorized to approve queries. We required audits of U.S. person queries and implemented many new reporting and transparency measures. But we must still work to protect the Fourth Amendment rights of all Americans. I introduced an amendment to require a warrant for all U.S. person queries. This amendment included various exceptions to allow the FBI and the intelligence community to do its vital work of defending our homeland while protecting Americans' privacy rights. This amendment had broad bipartisan support, and we worked closely with our colleagues across the aisle in an attempt to address this issue. I believe such a reform is necessary to end the abuses of Americans' rights. But reforming FISA itself is not enough. The government has plenty of other tools at its disposal to collect information on Americans. Currently, the laws governing how the Fourth Amendment is applied in the digital context is the Wild West. Key legislation in this space is the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, which was written in 1986 and did not take into account all the advances in digital communications that have occurred since. The iPhone, for example, did not show up for 2 decades after this law was written. These cell phones have become such an integral part of our lives that, as the Supreme Court has held, they now, quote, hold for many Americans the privacies of life, close quote. Federal agencies are able to sidestep the requirements of the Fourth Amendment and access and collect massive amounts of private information on Americans by exploiting a legal loophole in this act. Rather than obtain a warrant, government agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Internal Revenue Service, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and the Department of Homeland Security can simply turn to data brokers and purchase mass amounts of Americans' data. This includes such private information like location and health information and so on. Currently, with a disturbing amount of frequency, data brokers sell Americans' personal information to law enforcement and intelligence agencies without any court oversight. In contrast to strict rules that prevent phone companies and social media sites from selling such information to the government. We also are aware of reports of the federal government using facial recognition technology. This is a powerful tool that can be used to help solve crimes, but this technology also raises serious issues concerning First and Fourth Amendment rights. Law enforcement agencies could potentially use this technology to surveil individuals who are not engaged in any illegal activity whatsoever. For example, we've seen reports of ATF using facial recognition to find gun owners. The federal government has also turned to private companies like Clearview AI to purchase access to facial recognition technology. Clearview AI pulls publicly available photographs from social media sites and puts them into a database marketed to law enforcement. Clearview AI's founders called the service a search engine for faces. The Government Accountability Office has conducted studies of federal law enforcement entities' use of this technology in recent years. It found that federal law enforcement agencies had not properly assessed privacy and other risks associated with the use of this technology. And some did not even know which systems their agents were using.
Wow.
As technology continues to develop, the government has more and more information about Americans available to it. Used improperly, this will continue the pattern of government surveillance of U.S. citizens that we have fought so hard against. Congress must protect the privacy rights of Americans and uphold the guarantees of the Fourth Amendment. I look forward to this opportunity to discuss the dangers of mass surveillance and explore meaningful reforms. I appreciate our witnesses and the members for being here today and the public for attending as well.
Well, I think the answer is simple. Don't let the FBI purchase data on the open market. That should be illegal, 100%. I mean, when you're posting stuff on Facebook and Instagram willy-nilly, when those posts are public, they're getting harvested by data collection companies that are then selling that information to the FBI, your personal information. Oh, you thought it was bad? They're just selling it for ads and sponsors and retargeting. No, it's going directly to the FBI. I did not know that. Here is the press secretary discussing the Supreme Court legal victory just a few hours ago.
The alien enemy. Last night, the Supreme Court delivered a massive legal victory to the Trump administration and allowed us to continue removing foreign terrorist invaders under the Alien Enemies Act. This was a smackdown to a rogue left-wing, low-level district court judge who have relentlessly tried to stop President Trump from using his core constitutional powers as head of the executive branch and as commander-in-chief. The highest court in the land made it clear that the President of the United States has the power to protect our homeland and forcibly remove foreign terrorists who pose a grave threat to families and communities. Thank you to the Supreme Court for upholding the rule of law and protecting the Constitution. Our message to the monster Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists still hiding illegally inside our country is clear. Deport yourself now, or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country. Last night, the Supreme...
And I should point out that Amy Coney Barrett sided with the left-wing radical judges on the Supreme Court. She sided with MS-13 over your safety. Let that sink in for a minute, right? Let's keep going. We have the Attorney General Pam Bondi talking about the Supreme Court ruling.
This is a landmark victory for the rule of law, and this is what we've been arguing on behalf of President Trump from day one. These are enemies of our state, of our country, and they should be deported. And what the judge ruled was, going forward, from this day forward, all those planes that are gone are there. Those people are staying. So there are a lot of reasons why Americans are safer. From this point forward, the hearing will be held, it's a habeas hearing, in the court of confinement, which means in Texas. Yeah. So it will be a much faster hearing. They can't do class actions. It will be a much smoother, simpler hearing, and these people will be deported. Americans are safer, and domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists, you better look out, because we're coming after you. I'd start self-deporting if I were you, because we're going to find you.
Yeah, start self-deporting indeed. Yeah, here it is. Justice Amy Coney Barrett sides with the liberal justice that President Trump cannot invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Yeah, remember when she was the darling appointment? Wow. Let's keep going. Here is Stephen Miller on the SCOTUS ruling.
Victory. This was a huge, a monumental victory for President Trump. The biggest legal win of this administration so far. A total embarrassment for crazy Judge Boasberg, who's been trying to force this president to bring foreign alien terrorists back onto American soil, trying to turn our planes around, trying to empty prisons in foreign countries and bring them back to our soil. This is a monumental, colossal victory for the rule of law, for the Constitution, for our founding generation, John Adams, who signed this law into effect in 1798, and for President Trump in fulfilling his mandate and campaign pledge. What does this mean for you and your family watching at home tonight? It means that the Department of Justice, FBI, DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshal Service, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement now have maximum authority to find and remove illegal alien gang members from Venezuela that have been responsible for so much misery in this country, for the torture and murder of Jocelyn Ungary, for the brutal slaying of Laken Riley. Those monsters can now be hunted down and expelled from this country with speed, force, and efficiency. This is a great day for America, Sean.
Major win for America. And Amy Coney Barrett exposing herself. Here is more from the press secretary speaking with Jesse Waters.
This is a massive legal victory, Jesse, a massive victory for law and order and for our constitutional republic and the sovereignty of the United States of America. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who was completely out of line in trying to say that the president didn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists off of our soil. We have always maintained the position at the White House that the president was well within his constitutional authority to do so. And this decision proves that President Trump and our administration have always been right from the beginning. He will continue to utilize the Alien Enemies Act to remove foreign terrorists and Tren de Aragua members, vicious gang members from American communities. And because of this ruling, the United States of America is a much safer place. Our team will get to work tomorrow to deport these heinous, violent foreign terrorists from our neighborhoods.
Let's go. And we have Secretary Kristi Noem posting this. President Trump proven right once again. SCOTUS confirms our Commander-in-Chief Donald J. Trump has the power to stop the invasion of our country by terrorists using wartime powers. Leave now or we will arrest you, lock you up, and deport you. Yeah, these are the people that Chuck Schumer want to keep in the country. Here is Mark Thiessen on the SCOTUS decision.
Destroy Donald Trump. This is a big victory for Trump in the new lawfare. So the old lawfare was try to destroy Donald Trump. 91 indictments, 2 impeachments, civil suits to destroy him, and all the rest of it. That all failed. He won the election and came back stronger than ever. And so the new lawfare is to try and stop him from implementing his agenda through a miasma of court cases. And this was a perfect example of it. And the Supreme Court is now allowing him to use this law. So this is a first victory in the fight against the new lawfare.
The new lawfare. Think about that. Here is USA Today's Susan Page on the Supreme Court decision.
His policies. Obviously, this is a big victory for President Trump, and it returns him to the issue on which he is most popular, which is his policies on illegal immigration.
Another big win, just up and down the news channels. Everybody. Here's even Brett Baer on it.
The U.S. Supreme Court, we're getting some breaking news at this hour coming out of the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed President Trump a victory, letting him and his administration use the 1798 law that historically has been employed only in wartime to swiftly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members as part of the Republican president's hardline approach to immigration, granting that administration request to lift the Washington-based U.S. judge James Boasberg's March 15th order that had temporarily blocked the summary deportations under the Alien Enemies Act while litigation in the case continues. So the Supreme Court has weighed in. We're getting some.
And Trump scores another win. So the implications of the surveillance revelation go beyond politics. When government agencies turn their intelligence apparatus inward instead of protecting our borders, we've crossed a very dangerous line. AG Pam Bondi's warning of foreign terrorists is unequivocal. I'd start self-deporting if I were you because we're going to find you. But the bigger question remains, why are these same agencies more interested in monitoring American citizens than in protecting them from the very real threats crossing our borders daily? Why was the FBI allegedly deleting Epstein files while simultaneously expanding domestic surveillance programs? What we're witnessing is a tale of two governments. One under Trump that's focused on outward and real threats, and a bureaucratic deep state focused inward on controlling American citizens. So I'll ask you, which America do you want to live in? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And show your resistance with our Next News hats and shirts at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, linked below.